Anyway, here's a sort of a concept which I wanted to, rather than, it's a very practical thing actually, this as well, that it's about the decision moment. And those legal families, the differences in legal families do lead to very different approaches to the way planning operates. So you end up, say, Faludi and others have said that there's developed different ideas about the decision moment. I don't know, I'm quoting Faludi here actually, but in the sort of planning theory world, this is pretty well known. A lot of people talk about this. But you get a system here where there's an approach to planning. It's called imperative theory of zoning. Let's call it an approach to planning, where the decision moment is really early on. It comes here. If this is some sort of very oversimplified process, the decision moment comes here. And that happens because of the legal framework within which that planning system operates. The legal framework makes plans law. And the whole country works on a system where decisions are made in advance. So the legal system is about making decisions in advance. Now, most continental countries do that. You know, they have a set of laws and decrees, and the law builds up like this. And when you produce a plan, in fact, the plan becomes part of the law. So the whole approach is designed to make decisions in advance of proposals coming forward. So the decision moment is here. And then you get some in between. Let me jump to this one. The situation in the UK, the legal system is different there. The legal system isn't a case of building up law and trying to make decisions in advance. The legal system is built up by adding up decisions, not by making up specific laws or decrees, but adding up previous decisions and looking at what previous decisions were made. This is also always a little bit tricky to explain. But it comes clearer here when you see that, if I explain that in the UK and in systems that have followed this approach, and there are quite a few around the world because of the influence of the UK, colonial influences previously. Oh, I need to plug in. The decision moment is here, it's at the end of the process. Because decisions aren't made in advance. The law is made as and when an issue arises, not in advance. We don't try and anticipate decisions in advance. Yeah, I'm not explaining that very clearly. Can I plug in anyway? Sorry?
Battery. Oh yeah, here is the
I'm just going to rewind it over there, yeah. This is the red socket there?
But you have to put the... that's what this one. Now the other way around. You see?
Cool, just maybe. Let me move over. I have to get the right equipment.
Is it called jurisprudence in English?
Yeah, but it is in other countries as well. It's just more important. Let me rewind a bit. In continental systems of law, I'm oversimplifying here, but the law's made and built up, and it tries to anticipate decisions. So you try and write law in order to anticipate decisions. The planning system is built on that method. So the plans try and anticipate decisions in advance, and they become part of the law. So when someone comes forward with a proposal, you measure the proposal against the law. Okay? And you see whether it fits or not. But the actual time you made the decision moment, was when you made that law or you made the plan.
But does it apply all to planning teams, or is it like...
No, I'm oversimplifying, but generally that's how the planning system operates. You produce a binding plan which determines decisions in advance. Okay? Now, in that common law framework, which is applied where the UK's had influence, the law doesn't make the decisions in advance. And proposals are dealt with on their merits when they come forward. So the decision moment is at the end of the process. here, you see. And it leaves it means there's a lot more negotiation when the proposal comes forward, because there is no law against which to measure the plan. There'll be a strategy or a framework there's a strategy or a framework against which you can measure the proposal, but not a binding plan, and certainly no law. Now that's a fundamental difference for me in the way that planning systems operate. And people from Britain go to other places and can't understand the sort of problems that they face, because the problem there is, the problem in continental systems is building inflexibility. How do you deal with a proposal that you want to accept, which is different to the law or different to the plan? This has been the overriding problem in continental systems. In Britain, in Britain, the problem is quite different. The problem is, how do you provide more certainty in a system where negotiation is the hallmark? You know, so the problems for the planning system differ as well. This can't be right. It's only 1:15. We didn't start. So, what? Well, that sort of approach, what I'm saying here is that sort of approach got a clear message, but it doesn't represent the real variety of systems, though. It overemphasises law, and it's rather abstract, all this thinking about planning in that way. It doesn't deal with outcomes. I'm interested in outcomes as well. So I was involved in, this is the work that I was involved in the 1990s, where we were trying to produce a compendium of planning systems. And instead of relying just on the legal family, we introduced a number of other criteria. Scope, subsidiarity, power, the extent to which the system is public or private sector oriented, and others. Now, again, I'm not going to explain all those, but we ended up with 4 ideal types. Now, these aren't categories, they're ideal types, and that's why I haven't got a map there, but this is done diagrammatically. These are ideal types, and any real system can be measured against the ideal type. So we might have an ideal type of land use management, where the system, adding up all those criteria, is mostly geared towards regulating land use, and we might have a system, which is more about regional economic development. Now, it happens that the UK fits mostly into the land use management system, and France fits mostly into regional economic planning. But both of them exhibit all 4 styles of planning. So you can use these 4 styles to measure a particular planning system. Well, styles, traditions, families, I'm not sure about the appropriate word here. So it's a different sort of approach, trying to incorporate a wider range of criteria. I think it makes it more robust, actually, as an approach, but it does exaggerate certain characteristics, and you are only left with 4 ideal types. And it is open to misinterpretation. In fact, this sort of thing happens, misinterpretation. This sort of thing happens. You get, and this is a map that I've produced, but this is the wrong thing to do. Why is this the wrong thing to do? I've coloured in the countries. You're obviously not listening.
You had something.
Well, it's wrong because these are not we can't classify the UK as one sort of style. I've just said it represents all styles of planning are in there. These are ideal types. They're not classes into which you can put particular systems. So, yeah, it's an incorrect thing to do, but that's exactly what's happened. The most recent work on this, which I wasn't involved in, that Dominic was involved in this project, in supplying information on the Netherlands. They used 2 methods, and one was to take the work that we'd done previously with these 4 ideal types, and they did squeeze individual countries into one ideal type. But methodologically, that is a big mistake, because they're not categories into which you can place things. They're ideal types against which you can measure a particular system.